Hi everyone, and welcome to Planet B period O period B period. My name is Michelle. I'm going to be your host tonight. Denise is working late tonight, so I'm without Denise tonight. She's like my voice of reason. So if I get too flighty, I'll just get into the to the chat room. Tell me to knock it off. No, seriously, I will try to keep it to a mature level as much as I possibly can. How is everyone today? This show tonight is basically in 11 days, our government decides what they're going to do about this situation down on the Mexican border. Now, whether you are for or against this wall is, believe it or not, it really is irrelevant. Because it's not up to us, you know? At this point in time, our fate lies with these, they're geriatric people that are running this country. And, and I get accused of ageism all the time. Oh, you're prejudiced, and I am not. But I know this for a fact. I know several people who were in their 70s and 80s. They get along just fine, but they will tell you themselves they can barely run their household. So how are these people, getting the mentality and the physical strength of running our country? I just don't think they are, and I just think that's why we're having such a big standoff right now. It's just, we have these old ideas, these old everything, and it's like then the rest of us are just here going, what the heck, So tonight, we're going to be running through a couple scenarios on what if it comes down to a state of emergency. What if our president decides that that's enough? He's just not going to do it anymore. He's going to get this wall no matter what. And he decides that the border is more dangerous than what people are saying, and that he needs to, shut it down and declare a state of emergency. We're going to be going over tonight just a few things that's going to happen, or what can happen. Not say what is going to happen, what can happen. And basically what you can do to prepare yourself, because there is a lot. In researching this, I never knew how much our president could actually do. I knew it was a lot, and I knew that President Obama had used a lot of these directives himself to do what he wanted to do. And, but I didn't know the extent of it. Because there's things that were put into the president's hand long before any of us were born, Not before Pelosi or Trump was born, of course. They were there for it. But anyways, my point is that a lot of these things, a lot of people don't even know about, So I'm just going to kind of just keep talking here for a minute, because I'm going to be posting some things to groups and things like, on Facebook and whatnot. So if you all just give me a second here, I'm going to get in there and do this. But yeah, so there are so many things. It actually kind of frightened me a little bit just to know that our president can do some crazy stuff. Like there's this thing called a Directive 51, which is kind of odd to me because, you got the Area 51, and then this one is called Directive 51. And we'll go over that in just a minute. I'm actually just going to put on a quick song. It's just actually I'm just going to keep talking. I'm going to go some crazy music anyways. I don't think y'all would like it. I'm just going to get onto the internet here and try to get this on the pages and whatnot, so it'll be interesting. Anyways, a lot of people, I'm sure I'm going to get just a lot of mail and email from this, because, I don't like that. Am I the only one that's not comfortable with the fact that these people that are in their 80s are deciding everything for us? And like I said, it's not about ageism. It's not about being prejudiced against the elderly. It's like I said, I have neighbors that they agree with me. They're in their 70s and 80s. They're like, they can barely get up out of bed, and it's like, we've got these people running our country. But I know that's neither here nor there, and I'm getting off track here, but it's just amazing to me that this can happen. Do you know what I mean? Like all these things. Hold on, I'm posting to some groups on the sites here, so that way people can come in and if anybody's listening, go ahead and join the discussion. I mean, I'm, definitely open for any kind of suggestions or anything that you have to add. I know, and people are going to say, oh, you're paranoid, but no, this is totally feasible right now. If there is not a decision made on the 15th, one way or the other, we are totally facing the fact that something like this can happen. That the government can be shut down, that the government can be taken over. It's just crazy. My gosh, hold on. I'm starting to get in these groups here. I promise it won't be so flighty here in a minute. But, yeah, it's just amazing to me that all this can happen, There's one in here that really cracked me up, because we used to run on the gold standard, and I don't know if a lot of you know what that is. But basically, we couldn't have any more money than we had gold. So back in, the 30s, actually, it was implemented in 1917, but the last time it was used was in the 30s. Basically, they could seize your gold, and they still can. They can totally seize your gold right now. And there's nothing you can do about it. Nothing. They can literally, all these people that say, I'm investing in gold and all this stuff, we have gold bars, we have certificates, and all. The government can literally just take your gold. They can leave you, the amendment states that you can keep $100 worth of your gold. Oh, gee, thanks for nothing, guys, right? But yeah, we used to run on the gold standard for money, and a lot of people don't know that we don't do that anymore. Now we just keep printing money, but we used to run on what they call a gold standard, where you couldn't have any more money in your country than you had gold. So if you had 5 billion or whatever in gold, that's all the money you could have for your entire country. But now, I believe it was Nixon that took us out of that, and we're running on something else, which is basically we can just print more money, which is why inflation happened, and nobody can actually live off a decent salary anymore, stuff like that. So, okay. I'm going to stop talking so fast. I'm going to go over just a few things. On February 15th, we're going to go back into the possibility of another shutdown. And also, the president has stated that he is very much thinking about declaring a state of emergency. Now, what can happen under a state of emergency? There's several things. The president has this power, whether there's a state of emergency or not. But a lot of these things can happen. And what we're going to do is just go over some scenarios and what you can do to actually possibly prepare for some of this, because there are groups out there. There are the Trump groups and then the anti-Trump groups, which are, just stupidly fighting amongst each other like they have any say in this, And the anti-Trump groups are threatening that if the president makes a state of emergency, they're going to riot and they're going to do all this stuff, which opens many doors for so many scenarios. Because what a lot of people don't understand is the power that our president has. Because former presidents, like President Kennedy, for example, he did a lot of this. And George W. Bush did the little lovely Directive 51 there. So, I'm just going to go over a few here. And the first one is, it says that the president can regulate all commerce and business transactions. He's allowed to regulate all finances of the U.S., including all international interactions. So basically saying our president, if the state of emergency happens, he has control over everything, over the money, the business, all of it. So, at this point in time, if something is not decided on the 15th one way or the other, if he declares a state of emergency, he can take over everything. Everything. All business transactions, money coming in, money going out, all the grants, everything. You got business grants, you've got education, everything. He's got it all. Nobody has a say in anything except for him. When it comes to the finances, he is the Messiah. So this is, do you see what I'm saying? So here, a lot of people need to prepare because a lot of this is going to put things into a spiral. If this happens, everything from traffic to bringing in food to government money, he could just decide, okay, well, I need this money over here, so therefore I'm not paying this right now. He can say, whether it be, medical, prescription, whatever, he has to decide this. And this is things you can look up. This is not something people are like, oh, this is conspiracy. No, these are facts. These are facts. If you don't believe me, get basic Google, get a book, get an encyclopedia, get a government book. This can happen. This can happen. So, well, yeah, Sonia's in the chat. She says, so one world order. Well, in a sense, yes, because if the president decides that hold on. So the president decides that if he wants to do this, that he's going to do a state of emergency, and it doesn't end with that. So many people think that it's going to end with him just doing like all commerce. Well, then we just talked about the gold stores. We used to run on the gold standard, so they would, somewhere around World War II, Depression, they took everybody's gold, said you have so many days to turn your gold in and you can keep $100. So if you had, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, which was a fortune back then, of gold, you had to turn it in. And if not, you could face going to jail. So the government took their gold. This isn't something that they talked about. They did this. In 1933, this was a fact. It happened. They took they took all these people's gold, and like I said, they made bricks out of it because back then you could only have so much gold. You could only have $100 worth of gold, but then with your money, they couldn't make any more money than they had of gold. Now, where all this gold is today, that's debatable. That's a conspiracy. I don't do that, but, some people say it's there, some people say it's not. Who knows? But we don't go on the gold standard anymore, so it really doesn't have to be there. Okay. On to the next one. Now, this one for me is huge because a lot of people don't think that this can happen, but it is absolutely 100% feasible. The government has the power to seize all the electric companies, all the fuels, the minerals, the highways, everything, the railroad, private vehicles, everything. So, in a scenario level, let's say he decides to do this. State of emergency, he's building the wall, that's it. People start rioting. Okay, all over the country, all these protests are taking place, what people call protests now. Protests are taking place, fires get started, all this stuff. Well, all of a sudden now he can take control of everything. He can take control of the power companies. He can cut off electricity. He can do all these things. And well, Sonia Louise, you're absolutely right. In the chat room, Sonia says it's going to happen. People just choose not to listen. And this is true. They think by posting on the Facebook and their media and bitching and crying and whining and moaning that that's going to do anything. Not realizing that these geriatric people that are in the freaking White House and in the House and the Congress don't give a rat's ass about you. None of them do. They're all millionaires. People think, oh, well, just, so Trump's got a couple million more than Pelosi. Oh, God, poor Pelosi. No, she's still a millionaire. Do you know what? This kind of stuff cracks me up. It's like that people are choosing one side or the other. And what needs to happen is we all need to unite and say this is enough. But anyways, we're not, like I said, I'm not getting into political stuff right now. What I'm getting into are facts. The fact is, if these riots take place and, and they will, If I'm telling you, because people are so far to the left or right, they got their heads up their butts on both sides, that this is going to happen. There will be riots, there's going to be people, protesting, and there's going to be, just like there was, well, what happens with every riot and protest, shit gets burned down, people fight, people are getting killed, shot, whatever, but this is what I'm talking about. They can seize the power companies, they can cut off your electricity. Oh no, it was a blackout, bull. They can take your fuel. They can raise your fuel prices. The sea, the dang sea. They got powers of the sea. You can't even escape on your freaking yacht if you want to, because it ain't gonna happen. They're gonna have control of that too. Okay, railroads, private vehicles. If they decide, if a government official, presidential, decides, oh hey, I want your brand new car. Guess what? They're getting it. Property. They decide they need your house for some kind of headquarters or something. Guess what? They're getting it. And they don't have to pay you. They don't have to do nothing. Because if it's a state of emergency, everything belongs to them. And I'm not trying to scare people. I know people are like, oh, this is scare tactics. No. I'm telling you that these things, you can look it up. Like I said, if you want to Google it. You want to go on YouTube, look anywhere. These things can happen. And people are not going to respond well if President Trump decides to do a state of emergency. They are not going to respond well to any of this. I'm going to read what Sonia put in the chat room. Should excuse my language, but sure, it's about to get real, and people need to really open their eyes and ears and hearts, because this is all foretold in the Bibles. Well, yes and no. We don't, nobody can really make sense of the Bible. So, I mean, you can put that to anything, you know what I'm saying? For me, this isn't about religion. It's what you said here. It's about common sense. We are taught, we are all somewhat, our households is just what people choose to listen and take to heart. And this is what I'm telling people. This isn't a warning. I'm telling you what can possibly happen and what you need to do to prepare. You guys seriously need to start before the 15th. Do this before he decides to do this. Because if they don't do this, it's going to come down to that. Because it's going to come down between ego. That's all it is. This is about ego versus ego. Some people are saying, we need this, it has to happen. There's stuff coming through, blah, blah. And then there's other people going, no, we don't. Well, I'm sorry. We do need some kind of security. That's just common freaking sense. But do we need a wall? I don't know. Like I said, whether you're for it or you're against it, this is just common sense. This is whether you're for it or against it is just irrelevant. All this is common sense that I'm telling you right now, because if riots break out, stores are going to burn. There's going to be things people aren't going to be able to get into the towns, because for some reason when mob mentality kicks in, people don't think about how they're breaking their own stuff. Do you know what I mean? They don't think about, oh, hey, if I burn down the corner market, I'm not going to have a place to shop. Hey, if I burn down this bank over here, I'm not going to have a bank to go to. Do you know what I mean? Mob mentality takes over and people just don't care. They just start burning and breaking. They don't care. So, you have to seriously think about this. And people are like, oh, I live in a small town. I don't have to worry. Yes, you do have to worry about this. Because in every small town, too, there are also two sides to every story. There may be people there that are plotting against you. You don't know. Paranoia. No, this is not paranoia. This is what can happen. I'm telling you honest scenarios of something that could possibly happen in your country that our president has the power to do. And this isn't a Donald Trump thing. People are like, oh, that's right, that bastard. I hate to tell you this. The bastards before him are the one that put this in play. John F. Kennedy put a lot of this crap into play. George W. Bush, you Democrats and Republican. President Obama used a lot of these directives to get what he wanted. So it's like, this is not about a left and right game, people, anymore. This is about mom and dad are fighting and we're getting caught in the middle. This is an abusive relationship and we're all getting screwed from it. Okay. So it's like, Okay, this is another one. To me, this is very important. This is really important because a lot of people don't know about this one. If at any time the president feels that there's a threat going on, he can take control of all the media in the U.S. That includes radios. That includes your cell phones. That includes the cable, the satellites, and yes, your precious internet. Absolutely. They can cut the internet down to a certain level to where only the government can use it, and you won't be able to use it. All your precious little Facebook groups, all your precious friends, everybody gone. You won't be able to see them. You won't be able to talk to them. Nothing. You will not have that. You will not have that Google. You will not be able to just be like, hey Google, why are carrots orange? You just can't do that throughout the day. Guess what? You'll have to read a book. But no, seriously. I'm being very serious here, though. This can happen. And this, by the way, was put into effect in 1934, the Communications Act. But by an executive order by no other person than John F. Kennedy, by the way, decided that he wanted the telecommunications, even as technological advances happen. So basically, he's basically saying that any kind of advances in the technology, the government has the right to take that away from you. The government has the right to control that at any time. At any time. Oh, absolutely. And I kind of agree with that too. I think a lot of stuff are allowed, Sonia says, but aren't they already doing so? That's how you get fake news on Facebook, hacked your phone, and your phone turned on by itself. But what people don't realize, a lot of that stuff they're allowing themselves. I'm going to get off subject here just for a second about what's president, but a lot of people don't realize, like when their phone turns on itself or their camera turns on, they're allowing this. And let me tell you why you're allowing this. A lot of people don't read user term agreements, whether it be Facebook or Google or whatever the heck they signed up for, or any of the, them things on Facebook. It's like, what's your spirit animal or whatever, one of those. And who are you linked to, spiritually on a level, when you do that and you let them sign on, it says sign in with Facebook, you're letting them do that through their site. And that means when you do that, and it says at the bottom, by doing this, you are agreeing to our user agreements. You use their user agreements. If you read those, a lot of them will tell you that they have the right to get your pictures, your messages, to have control of your camera, your microphone, different things like that. And they will tell you that they share information with other people. And a lot of the companies that they put down are related to the government. And this is, like I said, again, not conspiracy, fact. People say, "Oh, no." This is 100% fact. You look in the Facebook agreement. Why do you think that when you go to, you want to go do your profile picture, you change your profile picture and you go to choose a picture, but then there's that little live video up in the corner of you, because at one point in time, you chose to allow Facebook to have control of your camera. There is no place in the user agreement that says when they're allowed to use it or why they're allowed to use it, but that you've given them the right. You've also given them the right to use the microphone. So at any time, people like Facebook Messenger or whatever you're on, Twitter or whatnot, have the right to use your phone, your computer. So when a lot of people say this and they're like, "Oh, the government's doing this." No, you did this to yourself. As far as that stuff goes, hackers, things like that, people working in these companies, people that were hired to spy on you, at any time. Have you ever been talking to your friend about, "Oh, let's go to, I can't wait, I want to go to Walmart and buy a table or something," right? And then pretty soon this thing's on your computer that's like the table's for sale. Whether you did it on the computer or not, you were just talking about. People are listening. There's nothing you can do about it. If you don't want that, then get off the internet. That's all I can tell you. Is get off the internet. Don't use your cell phone. Don't use texting, because even Places like Verizon, AT&T, all these places, they have user agreements. Look at your user agreements, people. The terms of the user agreement. This is what you've done to yourselves. So, anyways, so back to this. No, I just want people to know that that's not all government. People do that to themselves too. So, I mean, that's preparing. I mean, you need to know what you're signing. If you know, and I know it's how they word things and how they do that, and you know, yeah, she says not your smart TV. Yeah, your smart TV as well. People need to disengage that on smart TV. They have these things that can actually watch you, and you have to literally get into the system and disengage that, because going on the internet, people can actually watch you, just like they can through a camera phone or anything else. And again, this is not a paranoia factor. This is something that this is real. You know, this is totally real. This is not, oh, this is a conspiracy theory. She's crazy. Get out your foil hat. Well, guess what, baby? The foil hat people have been proven right so many times. And this, again, it's not a conspiracy. It's a fact. So, Sonia says here, store water, candles, battery, foods, and different things like that. Oh, hi, Stephen. Stephen Clark's in the chat room here. I'm just going to say hi real quick. But, yeah, you know, we have Sonia and Stephen here, but she says store water, candles, battery, food, and goods. It's coming. What's coming, we don't know, you know, but something's brewing. You know, and it seems like with this border wall thing, no matter what the decision goes on either way, something not so good is going to happen. You know what I mean? It seems like if it doesn't happen, a lot of people are going to be really enraged, and there's a lot of stuff going to happen. And then you're going to have the opposite side. If it does happen, a lot of these groups, these people saying they're going to riot and this and that. And like I said, these are very true things. But back to what we were talking about, in 1962, I told you John F. Kennedy decided that, you know, the communications rule wasn't just enough. It's like no matter how far advanced technology comes, he wanted to make sure that the president had control of that. So now we're looking at the fact that our president can have control over the media. He can downsize. He can shut it down if he wants to. The President of the United States can literally just take away your media. He can take away everything. You're going to be back to books, whatever. You know? He has control. He has control over the power companies, the fuel companies, minerals, highways, ports, seas, railroad, private vehicles, which we talked about. Now, here's another thing a lot of people don't know. State of emergency. Let's say he decides that there's some really crazy stuff going on. Let's say people riot and there's just stuff in the streets, and, you know, they say, oh, call it the National Guard. Well, our president can actually put troops in the U.S., on U.S. soil. And a lot of people, oh, no, he can't. Look it up. You can look it up. It is a 100% fact that this can happen. Not only can the states do this, our president can too. If he feels like there's a threat, threat to national security, the troops can be put out in various places in the United States. So again, we're going to be looking at, you know, protesters versus soldiers. So it's like, I'm telling you, it's a lot. It's a lot. Sonia says, when it happens, this new generation ain't going to know what to do. Well, you know, and that's interesting that you brought that up, because there is a person out there, he's a scientist, and he did like several mental experiments and things like that of kids under the age of 20. Now, these are the kids that have always had some form of internet or some form of something. Do you know what I mean? You know, some kind of phone or internet, or they've always had a computer, a laptop, whatnot. And it's like, these are the kids, they did these mental tests on them, and these kids almost had nervous breakdowns just by going 12 hours without any kind of media. They didn't know how to do anything. They didn't know how to do just the most simplest of things, which was absolutely insane. Do you know what I mean? They really did not. So it's kind of scary to think about that. But anyways, his conclusion was that if something catastrophic ever happened, or if their media got taken away, their electricity or whatever, more than likely we would have, unfortunately, a lot of suicides of people under the age of 21. Because they really would not know how to function. Which is sad, but really true. So that's another thing you'd have to prepare for if something like that took place. So then now we're talking about scenarios of possible soldiers on the streets. You know what I mean? It's like, so now that's a bigger problem, because then you're talking curfews, even if it's just a state that decides the National Guard's coming out, you know, and it's not even the actual troops, you know, let's just say National Guard decides to roll in. Well, now you're talking curfews. Then you're talking, you know, they're going to decide what you get. You know, and all these things are a possibility, and this is what I'm not sure what people aren't getting about this. A lot of people think this is just some great fun debate on Facebook. Oh, we're just going to debate back and forth, and we're going to insult each other, and instead of finding a solution amongst ourselves to figure out what the hell we can do. Can we do anything? That's another question I have. Can we do anything against these millionaire, you know, people that are supposed to be out there for us? Can we do anything? You know? I just don't know. The only thing that we can honestly do is prepare ourselves, you know? Hope, you know, what do they say? Hope for the best, expect the worst. And the reason I say take that mentality right now, because we're like sitting on a powder keg, people. We really are. This is getting to that point where we have people that are putting their own egos first before the people of this country. They are putting just ridiculous amounts of energy into their own, I guess, I don't even know what to call it. You know, like I said, ego is, there's another word for it, but they are putting so much energy into this. And, Steven said that he and Ike had a prepper class at work. Well, that's good. Yeah, people need to, even if it's just basic preps, because what if the water goes out, you know? What if, something like that? People don't think just one little thing over a border wall can bring all this, but you would be surprised what one little thing can do to this country, a ripple. You know, you think about a tidal wave. A tidal wave starts out as just an explosion in the sea, and it travels as a ripple. You can be out on a boat as this wave's traveling underneath you. It feel like a little bump, but then on land, once it hits, it takes out everything in its path. And I have a feeling this is, and this podcast isn't about scaring people. I don't want anybody to be like, oh my God, now I'm just saying just basic preparation. Get you a first aid kit. Get you some food. Even processed food, it's not the greatest. It's not the healthiest, but hell, it's better than nothing. Get you some little soups. Get you some, some beef stew, some tuna fish, whatever. And now this is another thing that some people argue with me on, but not everybody can go out and just get freeze-dried food. You know what I mean? Not everybody can do that. Sometimes it is expensive. So, at the very least, go out and get you some of those meals that are already prepared, like those, I think it's Denny Moore that makes them. Anyways, they have like the meat and potatoes, and all you gotta do is microwave them for a minute. You don't have electricity, you don't have a microwave, but these things are already cooked. So, even if you eat them lukewarm, they're still gonna be better than nothing. You're gonna have like a lot of protein and things like that. And these are things that people need to talk about, These are, so you need to have water. Don't stop getting these damn cases. Go get you some gallons of water. Gallons, Go get 10, 12, 20 gallons. It's going to cost you $20, literally. Those little gallons of water sometimes cost 89 cents. Go pick you up 20 of them. Have some in your car. Have some in your house. It's not going to hurt. Stack them in a closet. Stack them, put them under your bed. Put them beside your couch. Put them somewhere. you can have this. I'm not saying that bottled water is bad, but I'm just saying it seems like a useless expense for just having these little bottles. But anyways, back to the preparations. You should be having all these things with you. Make sure your documents are in check. Make sure you have copies of things. Make sure you have copies of birth certificates, Social Security. You never know when you're going to have to leave. You never know. And that gets us back to the bug out bag. Because if there's riots breaking all around you, you may have to leave. And this is worst case scenario. These are just scenarios. I'm not telling you these things are happening. I'm telling you they can happen. Okay, Sonia says, Trump has already said that, well, basically, the dang wall won't get approved, and he'll call state of emergency, which he has said previously, but now he's kind of backing off from it a little bit. He's saying he doesn't know. But it's very possible, but anyways, if you have children in your house, for God's sakes, especially babies, you make sure you have plenty of stuff on hand. Because you're not going to be able to just go to the store and just get these things, Formula, baby food. Even if you have a breastfeeding mom in the house and whatever, what if something happens to that mom? Have formula on hand in your house. Put it somewhere. Even if the mom's like, my child will never, formula will never touch their lips, we all know those type. And that's fine and dandy. But if something happens to you, what's going to happen to that kid? Have some backup in your house. Have some backup in your bug out bag. Your pets. Get all these things now. Because once he declares that state of emergency, it is just going to go willy-nilly and nobody knows what the hell is going to happen. Okay, now, for me, this is the most important one right here. This is called Directive 51. What is it with our government and the 51 being so just Area 51s, everything's all secretive. Directive 51 was signed into effect by George W. Bush on May 9th, 2007. Now, what is Directive 51? Well, let me tell you what Directive 51 is. Directive 51 basically says in an extreme crisis, which, riots all over the country and people trying to take stuff over might be an extreme crisis. It says president can take over all government functions. So that means if everything talking worst case scenario, things are up in flames, basic, stuff's been broken down, the president can decide that he no longer needs the House, Congress, anybody, so he now takes over everything. He is literally the Messiah of everything in your life. So, think about that one for a second. If the president decides to declare a state of emergency and all hell breaks loose, Pelosi, all those people, they're gone. Democrats probably don't matter, they're gone. Donald Trump is now in charge of everything. So, seriously, think about that one for a second. So now we're talking the possibility of not only does the president have control over your businesses, he has control over the banks, everything, every money that goes in and out of the country, everything. He can seize any gold he wants to. Anything. He can go in your house, all these people that invest, we're investing in gold because that's the smart thing to do. Well, whatever. But guess what? They can come and they can take all your gold or put you in prison. And then take your gold anyways. And now you're down to $100 worth of gold. Thank you very much. Last used 1933. Hello, Depression. Okay, so then, again, they can take over the power companies. The president can decide whether you have electricity or not. He can say, okay, well, this is happening. There's just to be a jerk, and they can do this, and they're going to do this. Look at the egos they have now. Oh, well, let's see. Over here, those guys didn't want me to do anything, so I think there's a problem with their power grid. Turn off their power. People are like, oh, that wouldn't happen. Well, you don't know. You don't know what can happen. Am I not being heard? Sonia says she can't hear me anymore. Can anybody else hear me? Because everything's on. It says it's functioning. It's going. Let me tell her to try to reset. Try to go out and come back in. Either that or the government shut me off. That's always possible. Yeah, it says everything's working and I'm on, so I don't know. Maybe the government cut me off. Okay, guys, is it just Sonia or anybody else? Can you hear me? Anything's possible. But, yeah, so. Anyways, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? So, anyways, the point of this podcast is for everybody to prepare. I'm going to find out if I'm actually being heard by everyone, because I need to find out before I continue here. I'm going to email a couple people and ask them if they can hear me. So, anyways, we'll find out. So, yes, if you can hear me, please let me know. If you can't hear me, please let me know, because I'm talking to myself here. But anyway, so like I said, they could take control of your media, get you off Facebook. They could take over everything and just decide to cut your internet off altogether. They can cut off your cell phones. They can cut off your cable. They can no more Netflix. They can cut off everything. They can make sure that you have nothing except your DVDs if you still have them, which I do, by the way, just for that purpose. So, yeah. I don't know. Can anybody hear me? I'm not hearing from anybody here, so. Sonia says she thinks it's just her. Government doesn't like her. She says me. Hold on, I'm seeing if they can hear me talking. Oh my God. Jeff, good Lord. Okay, I said, can you hear me? He says, I see your messages, but I can't hear the... I'm talking about the podcast. Wow. All right. So anyways, we're back to this again. So this is what I'm talking about. So could you imagine just one day you're just listening to a podcast or you're on your phone, you're doing whatever, just boom, it's all gone just because the president says that he needs to take control of the media because there's too much stuff going on. He wants to make sure there's no misinformation going out there. He wants to make sure that everybody's copacetic and that everybody's not conspiring against him or whatever. And this is possible. This is possible. So, yeah. Anyways, there's just... And like I said, I'm not doing this podcast to scare people. Be like, oh, you're trying to scare us. I'm not trying to scare you into anything. I'm not trying to scare you into supporting or not supporting anything. But this is my point. Is if all hell breaks loose, and I'm sorry, this America's on a powder keg right now. It's been brewing for a while. It's going to happen. Because if people don't get that wall, they're going to freak. If they do get the wall, the other side's going to freak. And I'm telling you right now, if the president decides to do state of emergency, we can... He says he can hear me, so I guess it's just Miss Sonia that can't hear me. Yay! Okay, so anyways, so one day you're just kicking it and everything just goes silent, goes black, and this can happen. This can happen everywhere in the country. And all because of the stupid geriatric people we have and up there. And like I said, I know I'm getting I get so much crap from people that are like in their 70s and go, why are you being such an, age, prejudiced against old people? I'm not. I am not, but I am sorry. Like Nancy Pelosi is 80 years old. 80. You think about that one for a sec. You think about all the people you know that are 80 years old. You think about that. You think about the people out there that are 80 years old and ask yourself, could they run the country? Should they be Speaker of the House? And I know lots of people who are in their 90s that are still kicking it. They're still doing hobbies and driving and taking care of themselves. And like I said, they'll tell you there's no way in hell they can run the country. So, and this is what my point is. Our lives are in these people's hands, and they don't care. They don't care. Them letting the government shut down right after Christmas was pretty much, to me, solid proof that they don't give a rat's ass about anybody. So, you tell me this. Do you really think the president's going to do a state of emergency if he doesn't get his way? Do you think this guy born with a silver spoon in his mouth is going to care about any of that? Do you think that the people on the other side that are, with these, stomping their feet and saying, we're not going to listen to anything he has to say just because he's him, they're going to give a crap about you at all? So think about this for a minute. Nobody's going to care if maybe that's the point to all this. Who knows? Now this word, to me, I will go into conspiracy. Maybe this is the point. Maybe this is the point to get our focus off, what's going on in Venezuela. Who knows? Which, by the way, we're sending troops down there but they're geologists, to check about oil. Whatever. So yeah, this country that just happened to go bankrupt, we're going down there to check on the oil. Anyways, that's also a fact. That's not a conspiracy, but the reasoning is possibly, conspiracy in my head. But anyway, so, who knows? But this is my point, all this. You guys need to be prepared. And like I said, what's the harm, So you got some extra food in the house, let's say nothing happens to this. Let's say they all come to their senses or a sinkhole swallows them all up, woohoo, yay sinkhole. But let's say it does. Let's say it just gets them all of them, the Republicans and Democrats, boop, down in the sinkhole. All of a sudden this all goes away. What's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to have some food in your house. You're going to have food in your house. You're going to have some extra water in your house. Oh no. Just like you look at some of this canned food, some of the, they're saying now that some of the canned food, like the actual canned food, is infinite. It's like it stays good, and it doesn't matter what the date on the thing says, unless it's tomato based, it's good forever. You can keep that stuff for 25 years and you'll be all right. And this is from the FDA, which I don't know if I trust them either, but I trust survivalists. And there's survivalists out there that's had canned food since 1972. They opened it. It's still good. So I trust them. So, but yeah, get anything. If you can't do freeze-dried food or you don't want to or you can't afford it, go out and get you a 99-cent can of freaking chicken noodle soup or something, Get something like that. Alright, let's see. Something just came across my news feed here. Trying to see what it was. I don't know. Now I can't find it. Anyways, so... yeah, I'm being very serious here. Though, and what's the worst? You're prepared, even if it's like, well, okay, what if a natural disaster happens in your area? You're prepared for that too. If you prepare for a worst case scenario, state of emergency and everything goes to hell, and like your electricity gets taken out, and you're prepared for that, then that means you're prepared for just about anything. And get some first aid classes. This is another thing. Get some first aid classes. I hate it when people this is the biggest pet peeve of mine as a survivalist and a prepper. I cannot stand this. People will have like all this fancy equipment in their bug out bags, which by the way, the planet B.O.B is bug out bag. But anyways, people will have like all these fancy medical things in their bug out bags and they have no clue what the hell they are. You can tell them, hey, what's that metal thing for? I don't know. Maybe a toothpick? It's like, it's a finger splint, dummy. But this is, no, seriously. I see this all the time. People will order like all these medical things online. They throw it in their bug out bag and they have no clue what they are, what they're used for. So please, don't just get a first aid book. Go take some first aid classes. Get first aid classes. Or if you know a nurse or somebody, get that, and make sure you also know CPR. That's another good thing. Sonia, bye Sonia, have a good night. Sonia says she's going to hit the sack here. I'm actually going to be wrapping it up here in just a few minutes because this is going to be a short show because it's just me, and my voice is starting to actually get a little tired. But it's like with me and Denise, we can bounce stuff off each other and I can, take a breath or two. But anyway, so this is what I'm proposing to people. This is my challenge to you. Please go out and prepare yourselves. Get some water. Get some extra food. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's tuna fish. I don't care if it's freaking chicken noodle soup. I don't care if it's beef stew. I don't care. Just get anything. Put some in the room. Stack it in the closet. Stack some gallons. Make sure your kids are taken care of. Make sure you have the supplies you need, like toothbrushes, toothpaste. Just put them away. You don't have to do anything special. Just put them away. Put them to the side. That way they have them. Make sure your baby, just have an extra pack of diapers in the corner. And as they're starting to get older, they start growing out, just replace, use those diapers up and replace them with a different pack. I mean, it's not that hard to prepare. It's not. You can go to the dollar store and get stuff to prepare. There was a post I posted actually on Planet B.O.B. how I spent $30, literally just $30, at the dollar store. And I got just a ton of stuff, things that had multi-packs, So, just different. I had everything: shelter, I had a weapon, I had food, I had water, I had everything. I had a first aid kit, everything for it was actually under $30. So this is definitely something that can be done by anybody. And like I said, with this stuff looming over us, we don't know what's going to happen. Our lives are in these people's hands. And their egos are just getting in the way. And the only thing people are doing about it is these cute little couplings on Facebook and their little memes. And, I'm going to be funny, so I'm going to post this to the one. And then they start into argument, and everybody's arguing. Now families and friends are split up because of these freaking old millionaires that don't give a rat's ass about you, which is really funny to me. Funny like what the hell funny, not ha-ha funny. That families and friends are no longer family and friends because of this. Because of these two political parties that don't care about you, and they're all millionaires. That's what cracks me up. They're like, well, the Democrats are for the poor people. The Democrats aren't poor either. Hello, wake up. So, just because they don't have hundreds of millions, they still have millions. Y'all need to, get your freaking heads out your butt. None of these people care about you. None of them. Not one. So, right now, you need to prepare. And make sure you have your medicines. Whether if it's anything, whether it's your CBD oil or your freaking marijuana or your pills, your prescription, whatever. Get your stuff together now. Because you never know what's going to happen. We don't know. February 15th, it's day after Valentine's Day, ain't going to be about love, I can tell you that. So, but those are my scenarios for you of things that can possibly happen. Not gonna happen, I said possibly. So before I start getting people freaking out on me, those things can happen. It's like the government can seize your utilities, your internet, which your internet's useless without your utilities anyways, can seize your car, your property, anything. They can do that anyways, but during a state of emergency, they can send troops in and just be like, we need this for headquarters, get out. And they don't have to pay you. People have this delusion that the government has to pay, and they don't have to pay you. Sometimes they compensate a lot of people to get the hell out because, like in Mississippi, they did that, said, here's some money, get the hell out of your houses so we can start drilling for oil here, which is what they did, and they compensated them. They didn't have to. They could have just taken them. So, think about that. Food for thought. Anyways, you all, thank you very much for joining me. I know it was a little short tonight, but my voice is starting to get hoarse. I'm sure you're tired of hearing me talk anyways. And hopefully I did it justice tonight. It's much more fun with Denise because we can kind of bounce off each other. But anyways, I just want to make just a couple shout outs to some groups here. Of course, we have the KBLP LLC on Facebook. You can go there, find information on shows, and definitely see it's interesting things that Stephen and Ike post. I don't always agree with them, but they're them. God bless them. Anyway. So, also Planet B O B on Facebook. You go there. There's tips and different things. I'm not always on there, but I do post some things on there, and you can also get links to the show. We have Survival Wolves on Facebook. Hey guys. They let me post my podcast there, which is very nice of them. Also, we have Innate Survivalists, which is a really good group. The group there is just totally about survival, nothing else. You will not see political, you will not see arguments, you just see survival, period. So it's a good group too. Let's see, we also have KBLP LLC 4 on YouTube, and all these shows right now are being brought to you all by King's Cannabis, so thank you very much, guys. We appreciate it. And there's shows coming up this week. That's Denise territory. So we're going to be posting schedules of the show on KBLP LLC on Facebook. So you'll be able to get the itinerary there. So that way we're not doing this every week on the show. So, but again, everything is about preparation, guys. Please prepare yourselves. Oh, also another thing I forgot to mention is self-defense. Get some self-defense classes because that might very much help you in a situation, So please learn how to defend yourselves. And whether you use weapons or not is up to you. I'm not getting into that, but that's 100% you. But self-defense can definitely help you out of a lot of situations. So self-defense, first aid, CPR, and get you some food, water, preparations. There you go. So on that note, I'm going to bid you all a good night, and thank you very much for those of you who joined in, and thank you for not laughing at me too much. So anyways, we will talk to you later. Y'all have a good night. Bye.